Okay, so we are Group 4, and I'm Adam. I'm the team leader, and this is my other group member, Kyle. Yep, and this is my other group member,
Marcel, the technician / grammar error fixer.
So for the last few weeks, we've been working on networking in Mr. Lake's class, and we're here to show you our networking and our experience during the class. So, next slide. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the OSI layers and how and what they're used for. So OSI is used to help pinpoint problems in different layers and layer different problems in certain parts of the networking. So if I have different layer problems, we're going to explain what each of these would mean, and these are only a few of them. So one of them is layer 1, which is the physical, and that is mainly a link between two different computers or servers that link the two together physically, and it can be through one of these cords. And that usually is always not a reliable source, but when it comes to a problem in that, you can label that as a cord problem if your Ethernet is not working, or if that's the problem with the cord, that would be layered as a physical layer problem. Layer 2 is a data link, which that is a connection between two computers and it would be through here, but it would be passing data between, and that would be a problem either with connecting the two parts together, and it would have to be switching the data back and forth, and it would be bad data showing up or coming into the computer, so that would be a physical layer 2 problem, or a data link layer 2 problem. Layer 3 would have to be networking addressing, which is routing, and that would be if IPs are passed between the two computers, and that pretty much acts as like a traffic control for the network. So that would be between the router, and it would delegate which IPs go where, and that would situate which ones connect to which computer and how those two would link together between that IP.
Layer 6 is the files that are presented as JPEG, GIF, and PDF. JPEG they're all things you can save whatever you're doing now. Like JPEG is where you can edit your photo. PDF is usually you can't edit your stuff, but it's mostly just for viewing. Or your GIF is moving pictures around. Layer 7 applications to get on to get on the sort of on the internet and want to communicate with things. So like you use HTTP and SMTP. How you go type in something. You want to go to Google and it types in HTTP. If you didn't have that, you really will never get to like where your destination is going, because you might get like a whole bunch of other applications and you'd be pretty lost. So you need to make sure you always have HTTP and your application layer 7 working.
Here, go back for a second. We're going to demonstrate how to use the physical layer, and that's going to be through the structured cabling, which is making different types of cables. So Kyle here is going to demonstrate how to do this, and I'm going to give him some of these tools here, and we're going to show you how we would normally do this. So normally you would take this, which is a wire cutter, and you would wrap it around the wire here and twist it, which we've already done since we had problems with that last time. And what you do is you untwist each wire and connect to its corresponding white color, which there's a white cord that has printed green wrapped around it, or whatever color it is. And then what we would do is, depending on what we would use, we could either use a punch down, or we could use a drop, or even a normal cord that you would use for that. So we would correspond the colors into here, which are coded for each one, and you would put the corresponding cables with their colors in here. And then usually you would either use this for a certain thing for punching down each one, or you would use this special puncher down, and you would punch each one in, and that would connect them to your cord and to your network.
You only use that to use for your Cat5
so Kyle
box
is right now
punch down plot.
putting in that. So he would put that into this mechanism, which will punch it down and put all the cords into their corresponding slots.
There's depending on your cord, there's your straight through, which is both ends are the same on both sides, or there's your crossover, which is both sides are different. Which is your crossover is connecting two like devices, your PCs to PCs, your switch, and so on.
So he's going to do the other side really quickly here, and we're going to test it with this. So this is a way of testing if the cord is good or bad. So we plug it in one into here, and another one into here, and if both light up green on each side, we know that the cord is good and ready to be used. So we'll see if Kyle is able to correctly get this. But I will let him do that, and we'll continue with the presentation.
Just to ask him, these right here, sometimes this really doesn't work all the time, so we have another one that's very like more special than this, because if these don't light up, you can have a good wire, which we had a lot of those problems, so we had to use a different one, and it'll give you number 1 to 8, and if this doesn't work, you test it in that. That means your wire. This was default, but the other one worked. So sometimes you gotta try more than once with different tools just to get your right stuff done.
Yep. Okay, so you can do next slide. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Active Directory, and one of the things that's found there is different types of users, and one of them is a regular user, which is pretty much what it states, is just the normal use of the network. So if you have a real user in it, so that would be like, let's say I'm in Kyle's network, well, if I'm just a user using it, I am just there to experience, get into the network, and be able to use his functionality. So I'm able to get into their folders, access their content, get on the internet with it. So we have access to just normal capabilities of it. Another thing is admin users, which are pretty much the way they can get in and change things, and if their account is hacked, which is a bad problem because it will ruin your network and people can get in there. So they are pretty much hold the key to getting in the network and being able to change, put more stuff in there, and they are able to give it to the regular users that want to access that content. And Kyle's still working on that, but here you can set that down for now, and you can continue with your part.
Domain administrator groups. I like to think of them as the dictators. They can do all, see all. It's their way or no way. They can add, edit, or delete users. They can control all the settings. Is categories is how your network is. You can set how your group is organized. You can organize them by users, computers. Group policies. So policies is your group setups, is what you're allowed to use on your computers, set up by the domain administrator.
Okay, so here I'll let you continue. No problems with that. So we are, also there's server documentation, which is a very important thing in networking. So putting down, writing down things, which we were not so good at the beginning and kind of struggle with to this day, is if one of us are gone, we document different things for us to see. So if he comes back and I'm gone, he knows what we did yesterday and isn't lost to what's going on. So it's a very important thing to have when documenting or making a server or anything related to this network. Some of the things you can find is server name, which is the name given to your server. And let's say like I have a server and Marcel has a server. We want to be able to tell the two apart, so it's not just server and server. So we can see which one is delegated to be what. So I can see mine is like server Adam and his is server Marcel. So we know the two apart and can tell between the two.
Back to what Kyle was saying, you need to have like in order for you not to get hacked, and what Kyle said, you need to have a username and password. Because, you know, if the dictator just made his computer for it public for everybody to use, and he didn't block off certain authorized, man, oh, I messed up, blocked off certain things, then regular people that they know certain things about technology, they can hack into your computer and change the whole everything to it. So you need to have passwords and usernames so nobody can get on. The domain name system, which is short for DNS. It basically serves as a phone book for the server. You need to have a name for it for your server, so your server can go. Basically it's for holding every information you go on with your server, anything, everything it does. That's what the server is mostly for, and you always need to put a name on it.
Okay, so Kyle's finished our patch cable, and we are going to plug it in here and test to see if this works. And pull this around, and it looks like it is good. So it is lighting up green, so that means we have successfully made a patch cable, and we can use this in our network, and that would work. So,
like I said, that could be
good.
faulty. So
It could, but we're gonna trust this one. So here, you can move on, Kyle, and you can talk about the next one.
DHCP. You want to set when you're setting up your network, when you're setting up your server, or it could be your home-based router. They both have DHCP options. With setting up a network, you want to set up a scope.
It's dead.
There's a range of IPs you can hand out.
Died. It said it was on low battery. Just popped up.
Well, there's a range of IP addresses you can hand out, which connecting another device, it would just demand an IP address instead of you physically going in there and giving it one.
Is there a second condition? Amazing.
Technical difficulties. Just wait a few moments, we'll be ready.
Terrible.
We might have the wrong cord. Yeah. I will go see if I can find the right one. Second.
So sorry. This was not supposed to happen.
You can continue.
You wrote down the rest of your notes, right?
These are the main points.
I didn't study those. I didn't have to. Well, I can go on to the next one when that pops up. I can tell you that what our problem was. Our problem was, as you can see, the our cabling. We always, like I said, the thing would mess up, so we thought we had a perfect cable. We'll skip from layer 1, we'll get to layer 3, and then we had to go all the way back to layer 1 just because there was something wrong with the wires. We had to go back and we that switch you see, we have a bigger switch than that. And then we plugged all our wires from our switch to our servers to our computers, and somewhere they were not communicating. Something was not happening. So we had to go back, and there we had like over 10 or 15 cables, and we had to go back and just test them all, and that's very, very stressful, especially in a business-wise, because it's just a dramatical error. Other problems we had was our computers. They had Windows 7 was different from another Windows 7 on a computer. We had a 64 and a 32-bit. There were two different Windows 7s, one bigger than the other, and for some reason they wouldn't ever communicate each other. Until this day, since we've been trying to fix it, that wouldn't work. We couldn't figure out why. We was like, why is going on? We reinstalled Windows 7 on both just to make sure they both were the same on 32. Still won't work, so we got another computer that wouldn't work, and we couldn't figure it out. The computer I was using, it didn't want to communicate with no computer at all. It had really, really technical issues. It didn't want to ping. It didn't want to connect to our server. It was angry. It would pop. It was like, okay, I'm happy now. My internet's working. We connected in. Next thing you know, a couple seconds later, it was like, no, it get a giant X. I'm like, your internet connection is not working. So it's like, man, we just had lots of trouble. We had more trouble than I know Adam knows the rest of them.
Yeah, so we're not technically getting our presentation working right now, so we're going to just keep going without it for now. I'm going to do some of the slides I was going to do. So one of the things we have is group policy, and that is pretty much, I like to think of it as a declaration for the server. It pretty much tells what users can do on the network and what they can't do. So let's say I don't want to use Internet Explorer on my network, and I want everyone to use Google Chrome. There's a way you can set up to have everyone, whenever they open up Internet Explorer, it'll just open up Chrome instead. So you can delegate what things you can do. You can't change backgrounds, you can, and you can just tell users what they can and can't do and authorize them on their network. Another thing we have is a print server, and that is inside the server there is a way that once you send out a print job from your computer to the server, it will delegate which printer you sent it to, send that print job to the right printer, and then it will print out there. So that pretty much figures out which ways the print jobs can be able to go and puts them in there. So another thing we have is also file sharing, and on your network you can share different files on the network between everyone. So let's say I want everyone to get today's news. Instead of sending an email to all of my coworkers, I could put that on the network, and then everyone gets to work that day, and they can just look on the shared folder and find the newsletter, then have to everyone access their email, and everyone get in, and everyone find the email, and sometimes that's not always reliable, so it's a lot easier to use file sharing at work. So we're also going to talk about some of the problems we had. I know Marcel was talking about that, and we had quite a bunch, so we thought we'd share a few of them with you. Which ones have you already shared, Marcel?
Windows 7 problem, computers, cabling. Sometimes I punch down black wires off. That's all.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, we've had a lot of problems in this, but it's been a good experience to figure out all these problems through it. I mean, I don't think if we didn't have problems, it would just be an easy class, and it kind of got our brains thinking throughout it, which I think was a nice thing to have, because mostly when you get to school and other teaching programs, they always have just ways of just come here, see this work, and do it. And instead, this one's more of think through it, try to figure out what you're doing, and you're not always going to get the answers right away, and you just kind of keep working through it. So. Yeah, so overall, I think my experience in this class has been pretty nice. I've liked the challenge that it had, even though it bit me in the butt quite a bit. But it was a very nice thing to have, especially since it was probably my most challenging class of the semester. So I would get home quite a bit, and I would think about some of the problems we've had and try to figure it out, research on the internet. And this class got me more thinking than most of my classes right now that I have. Would you like to tell your experience in the class?
Some of the problems I've experienced first is our patch cable. Some of them that I've made hasn't gone this well as the presentation one. There's some of them I messed up on, or they just come up missing. They'll come in first session, we can't find any. In some cases, then we had to make more that day, which set us behind. And loose cables were a big problem that we encountered. Another big problem we encountered was if one of us was gone, which brought us down to 2 people, and we're already a smaller group than the rest of the groups, so that really put a hurt on us when one of us were gone, because we were already smaller. Another problem was we didn't have our router set up correctly. When we first did it, we had a small scope, and the default on our router is no password, wireless. So everyone was going and saying their IP addresses, which our server didn't have any IP address to give any of us. So that was a big problem. Yeah. So far, my experiences in this class were pretty good. It was a lot of thinking involved, a lot of problem solving. Really good. A lot of fun.
Marcel, would you like to tell your time in this class?
My experience in this class was terrible. I came into this class not really knowing nothing, and while we're leaving this class, I'm still struggling because I think by far of my taking a KTTC, switching between instructors, I think this is by far the hardest class. But if I would have kept going and trying, if I had a semester-wise in this class specifically, I probably would get it by almost near the end. I finally understood how to make cables, make patch cables, connect my IP addresses to my computer. I knew all that, but some reason I just believe if I had a little bit more time, I would understand everything. I don't like leaving a class unprepared for life. I don't like that. So right now I'm kind of struggling through this class, but I tried. I liked it. For what it was, I liked it. I had fun.
Yeah, so thank you for coming out today. That was our presentation, even though we had some
Sorry
difficulties
for
with the
this,
presentation, but we'll be sure to link you guys that so you can see the rest of it. So thank you for coming out today, and that concludes our presentation.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Terrible.
I think make sure that you ask some questions.
Oh.
Ask if there are questions.
Mike. Okay. So, does anyone have any questions they would like
I gotta
us to
go,
answer,
guys.
or
I'll see y'all later.
try to on the spot? Oh, Marcel is
I'm about
having
to
to
be
leave.
late.
Okay.
Good. Y'all have a good day.
Good job, buddy.
See you guys later.
Does anyone have any questions that would like to be answered on the presentation or anything in networking in general?
Every once in a while, I have to use like HTTP gas? Have you guys ever had to use that at all?
I've not had to use it, but we've seen it on the internet through different websites. So
Or that's more
But-
of a protocol the websites use. The protocol that they're running, which is it's not really a problem on our side. It'd be them.
Okay.
Like sometimes Google might be down. That wouldn't be. We couldn't do anything about that. It'd be them. Yeah, another. Yeah.
So yeah, we haven't like set it up or anything like
Yeah.
that, or gone into full detail on exactly what the system would be. But we have seen it on different websites that we've been to, so technically we have used it.
Okay. So do you like working together as a team?
Yeah, it was pretty good. We all got along. Didn't have any huge fights. Yeah,
And it's
so,
easy, like working with someone you know outside of school.
yeah, we both go to the same church, so we know each other since there.
Okay.
So yeah.
Good friends.
Any other questions?
Well, I know you guys struggled with some things, so
Yeah.
you don't have to put on a happy face and act like everything was perfect, because that's not authentic. So what problems did you have working with each other?
Well, we had a lot of attendance problems for mostly during ACT. We had pretty much our whole group gone except for Monday and Friday, which I was there, but they were gone for those days, and there wasn't really much communication between that point where I would just get the KCTC and everyone was gone, and we had some problems getting emails out. Like I would email some people and I wouldn't get responses back, and that just kind of came a little bit stressful since I was the only one there and other groups were working pretty hard those days and got a lot of stuff done where I was trying to work everything at once, and it was a little bit hard to do that.
How did you resolve that problem?
Well, we got more emails, so I made sure I had everyone's right email, which I didn't actually have everyone's right email that they wrote on the sheet, and I got everyone's right email this time, and then I was able to email them and tell them information. So,
Could you have anticipated that problem?
I could have. I know we probably should have tested our emails when we got them, because I know Marcel and Kyle's email were wrong for me at first, but we were able to get the right ones and later on. So it could have been seen head on if we've done some more research into the email and tried that out just to make sure.
Yeah, what about the absenteeism during the MME week? Could you have anticipated that? I'm not saying you specifically, Adam, but like the group. Could the group have anticipated that or talked about, hey, I'm going to be gone next week ahead of time?
I think from Kyle, I was told that he was going to be gone.
Yeah, I told my group I couldn't be here this week.
Yeah, we
That
had
way-
Marcel absent quite a few days just for no reason at all, and it would just be, I couldn't come in yesterday, or I wouldn't get an email. So that was kind of hard to figure out what was going on with him, but that really did set us back since he was absent quite a bit.
Do you think that happens to adults too?
I'm pretty sure with certain coworkers, yeah.
What was the biggest technology issue you had? What was the hardest to solve?
I think it was with that one computer.
Yeah, we have two Windows 7 computers that don't like our switch.
The lightning.
Yep, and they don't really like to connect to it. They'll connect, kind of, but then they'll kind of just go back and forth and kind of not. But most of all, they're not really connected to the internet. And we have one that will half load web pages and just stop in the middle. So we had problems with that, and if we had more time, we would have taken our switch, got a new one, and then it would probably work. We've tried reinstalling Windows 7 to figure out the problem, but it's gone a little bit more deeper than we were hoping it to. So that has set us back with two computers.
I personally, as your teacher, liked that problem that you had, because that's a real problem that people aren't going to be able to fix without people like you to help. So that's the way they are, right? They're frustrating and they're hard to understand, and you really have to understand the system. Where do you think that problem in the OSI model, what layer problem do you think you're having?
That would be with our switch, so that would be layer 2. And so we got stopped pretty early on in that, and pretty much, if we were able to replace that and try a new one, it would probably work, and if it didn't, we'd probably have to investigate further, and it'd probably be something in it further. It could be a layer 3 issue, and it could go up from there. So maybe. It's still confusing to me on what's going on, so we would like to experiment if we had more time, so.
Good.
Any other questions?
All right, well, thanks. You can take a minute to show your dad your network,
Okay.
if you haven't done that already.